There's one here. It's more of a mechanical one, but it's from Varlies. I'm going to say Dragon Song,
yep.
who says, Matt, remember to explain to people that boss abilities register a hit when the projectile vanishes and not when the animation plays.
Yeah, that's the thing. The game is very split on the what actually happens and what you see layer.
Okay.
On an animation sense. Where as soon as a telegraph marker
This is one of the hardest things to get used to. I talked about this.
It's a little bit jarring to like walk out of an orange box and then walk in and then feel like this big swipe or this big blast has hit you. But once you get used to it, it's just the gameplay actually feels good because you're not going, oh shit, when can I go in? When can I go in? And it gives them a lot more freedom in animations where you can have dodged something and it looks incredible. And you're standing in the middle of it, but
I have noticed like it was Caden sent me like footage of a boss fight.
Do you remember which one?
Oh, no, it was one of the newer ones. Basically, he sent me this boss fight and was like, hey, like dude, this is how cool these new boss fights look. And like visually, it was a complete feast. Even though it was just a circular room boss fight.
Yeah.
I've noticed that like a lot of the animations and stuff they actually feel quite good. Like the spell effects, I really like them.
They are almost too much sometimes.
Yeah, I like them.
This is why you turn off everybody else's.
Guild Wars 2 thus far, because Guild Wars 2 to me always just looked visually cluttered because they had super high detail animations that were very, very, very up in your face, and that was like a little bit challenging to me.
Yeah.
So far, I like the balance in FF, I guess. So other FF supers.
Yeah.
AO Guard. One thing I love about FF, rewards that aren't just pets and mounts. Accessories have appearances, music rolls, emotes, hairstyles are earnable too. Like, that's really cool.
The music roll one is really, really insane when you consider that you can have an orchestrion set up in an FC house that will play music when you walk in.
And do you know what the annoying thing is? WoW has that.
Yep. It's just not the same way.
In your garrison,
yeah,
in Warlords of Draenor. They designed that feature in the bin.
Yep,
so, imagine if that was a feature that actually carried on.
Garrisons. Garrisons, am I right? Hey, guys. We fixed housing in World of Warcraft. Here's this garrison. Oh, you thought you could keep it? In the next, yeah, you can keep it. Go back to the Shadowlands, you bitch. Wait, not the Shadowlands. What was it called? Shadow Moon Valley. Go back to Shadow Moon Valley. Yeah, garrisons are abandonware. I mean, you can keep it, but you can't update it because, like, the reason garrisons were good is because you would have, like, stuff there, like, to access your bank. You'd have stuff there to help you with crafting professions. And it's like, just abandoned all that. It's like, yeah, sure, you can go make a garrison, but it's whatever. And it's like, if you think about it, your home is not even in your timeline. Like, think about it. Your home base is actually not in your timeline at all. It's in this alternate timeline that they created for Warlords of Draenor. Garrisons made World of Warcraft a solo game. Not to mention just straight up implementing a mobile game inside World of Warcraft. Home is where the heart is.
Was not a single expansion feature where Blizzard could scatter these music rolls about the place, and that would be another way to reward people. So that is interesting to me. Keith says, what are the small moments in FF that have made you smile? That's what you asked me, and I'd say it was actually when the dots connected in the Gridania storyline, and it all sort of clicked and fit together, and then I realized how it was probably foreshadowing really quite large things. It was that comboed with, like, it feeling like the game kind of respected the little journey that my character went through. Whenever I'd finish that storyline, go back to Gridania City, and I'm booped off on the airship.
Yeah.
And that just all felt like a nice little self-contained story, which is exciting to me because I mean, that's ARR. That's the bad stuff. I think the difference is just that unlike people playing ARR in the past, I experienced it with no filler.
Yeah.
Because I could just go straight through it, and that's why it worked so well.
So there's
Moments that made me smile in Final Fantasy XIV is like, I mean, there's obviously pretty much every kind of like big story beat, although those kind of make you smile and want to cry at different times. But like specifically things that made me smile, like when it comes to the job quest, for instance, the warrior job quest. I think the warrior job quest is amazing. Like the stuff that happens throughout the warrior job quest is really, really good. It's actually one of my favorite ones. The warrior, from all of the jobs that I've leveled up, it might be my favorite one. Machinist also had some really cool ones too. And then things that really make me smile is like raids. Particularly like the Shadowbringer raids, because those were the current raids when I started playing the game. So when I got the Shadowbringer raids, and I started going through Eden, for starters, I get the nostalgia hit from the first Final Fantasy game that I ever played, which was actually Final Fantasy VIII, even though I never finished it, but I did play a lot of it. So it's like you get those hits when you hear "Don't Be Afraid," which is like for those of you that don't know, let me just very quickly. I can give you a taste. Like, this is a music that plays throughout a lot of the Eden raids. Not this. This is an ad. Not this one, but this one. Wait, it's not at the start. Doesn't that just do it for you? And back then, I was doing this raid as a gunbreaker. Because remember, I mained gunbreaker for a while? So good, dude. So good. I still listen to this all the time. Like, all the time, I'll just pull up on YouTube, Don't Be Afraid, Final Fantasy XIV, go. And then obviously I also listen to the Shadowbringer's main theme, which is friggin' amazing. And of course, To the Edge. I mean, come on. Come on, dude. Is this a remix of Final Fantasy VIII? Yes, but it is also the raid music for the Eden's Gate, for a lot of the Eden's Gate encounters. Ruri said Ivalice had the best story. No, I didn't. I said no such thing. What I said was, I fucking hate the in-between stuff that you do in the Ivalice raids, because I have no nostalgia for 12. I did buy 12. Do I get a pass? Because I bought 12. Look, I don't know if I have the cartridge here. I hope I do, because then I can prove to you guys I bought 12. Yeah, I do have it. Look, I want to be forgiven for not truly appreciating it, and I want you to know that I plan on someday bettering myself by playing this, because a lot of people say that they love this. See, here it is. Wait, let me see if this will focus. I don't know if you guys can tell. Can you tell? It is the cartridge for Final Fantasy XII, okay? I have it with me always. Wherever I go, this cartridge comes with me, so one day I'll play it. I promise.
actually two levels where there's no filler. One is that XP gained is now generally strong enough that you don't have to do a bunch of side quests, whereas you kind of did in the past. But also, there's 30% of ARR gone.
That's probably pretty big too.
Yeah, entire stuff that was the least important has just been cut.
Yeah, Stuart Piercy says a lot of why FF feels so good is that the Yo ship Oh,
Yoshi P.
Yoshi.
Yoship.
Has had his finger firmly in the pulse of players since day one.
The
Takes into account
Yoship.
what we think.
Yeah.
It's an extremely player-facing game from everything I can gather, especially watching the No Clip documentary on how A Realm Reborn
No
actually
Clip
came to be.
documentary is really
It
good.
very much does seem like it is that way.
Yoshi P is like, I've played MMOs since I was born. Let me show you how it's done. And now it's so important that I imagine if a Square executive comes up and goes, Yoshi P, we don't really have the money in the budget for what you're asking for FF14. He just turns around and goes, who are you talking to? We need it. We need it. Our players need it. And they'll be like, sorry. Maybe he is producing FF16.
Actually, I don't think it's that way, Matt.
With the help of everyone who worked underneath him.
Actually, I'm pretty sure that Matt is wrong there. They don't just give Yoshi P like a blank check, which is why we don't have mythic dungeons. Wish they did.
Franchise.
Man, we've got Kazakh who says the only thing keeping me from switching from WoW to FF14 is the lack of dev support in PvP. Stormblood ruined PvP. Frontlines is all there is. That's what I've heard. Basically, if you
Endwalker's gonna have new PvP modes. He's gonna have new PvP modes. I hope they're great.
like PvP, FF's a non-starter.
Yeah. Maybe Endwalker will solve that. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
There's one from Varlitstra Dragon Song who says, me and WoW. Yeah, I guess I'm this god tier shaman. Me and FF. I am Vari, the Mikute, that asks Palicos, who I'm assuming I will know eventually.
Palicos are a little cat race.
Oh, all right. So yeah, you're a cat girl asking the cat race if they are just a talking cat.
Yep.
This is my story, and I hate/love these people. Also, I dance by enemies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's just
Haiku for
that's
Spring.
kinda
Thank
like
you
some of
very
the
much for the
fantasy you
bits.
want. That's
Tip
good.
of the hat.
Also, dancers
Appreciate
are
the support.
Really fun
Thank you.
job to play.
Dancer,
Really
I
fun.
saw a video of Dancer gameplay and was kind of like, okay, I thought that would be a little lame. Nope, that's really cool. Really cool.
Dancer's cool. Red Mage is incredible. Oh man, I want to talk about mechanics for so long. They're also absolutely sound like.
WoW could use a lesson from Final Fantasy XIV. World of Warcraft endgame teachings really should exist in game. It is what it is, man. I told you guys. 14 is better at teaching people how to raid. Way better.
Got a super from CW. He says, "All right, I'm trying to slap myself with the video.
Yeah, all right.
Do you have a bucket of happy water to douse me with?
No, just 4 cans of Pepsi.
Happy water. Yes, okay, right.
Yep.
Recenter myself. We have a super from CW who said, arcade-style mechanics seem to be the norm now. Do you think they will introduce a training mode? Perhaps a last man standing minigame in the Dark Moon Fair or something. Also, a mechanics generator to practice while moving. Do you know what's really funny? I hit like level 4. No, I hit level 15. And FF actually teleported me to to the Hall of the Novice, and it actually taught me game mechanics. Taught me AoE avoidance.
It is basically Proving Grounds.
So WoW does have a training mode with Proving Grounds. It's just that it's really quite underused. I don't even know if it scales reasonably in Shadowlands either.
I don't think it does.
Yeah. So, I think training mode is something that's really important. I wish there was a situation where you could actually... Okay, I need to be careful with this statement. Basically, I wish that World of Warcraft was good enough at training you mechanics as you played the regular level up process that Keystone Dungeons and normal mode raiding would be match made. Now, I'm not saying this advocating for them being match made. There are severe issues socially. But that the average, that the player base would be well trained enough that LFR wouldn't need to exist and the normal could be match made. I'm not advocating for normal being match made, but if WoW taught people game mechanics naturally as they level to the point where it could be, then that would show that, a good job would have been done in teaching the mechanics. So, yes, I think
Like Dylan J says, imagine needing an alert noise mod to tell you when an attack is happening. Yeah, World of Warcraft is basically unplayable without deadly boss mods. Let's just be real here. The raids are based around players having deadly boss mods. If you do not have deadly boss mods, you're kind of screwed. It just doesn't quite work. They talked at some point that World of Warcraft devs design with DBM in mind. Yeah, they do. I find it interesting because a lot of times I've brought that up, and I've had people tell me, "No, you don't. You don't need DBM." And I'm just like, "Well, I mean, if you want to raid, you kind of do." It's like you can't just like jump on a raid and just be fine without DBM. It's not going to work out. M place is doable without it. Yeah. M plus is doable without it, but yeah.
I think anything like that, training mode stuff, I think is super important. Would be great to see. I think there's a lot of people are super, they find a Mythic Plus dungeon to be a really daunting thing, and that means they never get into it. I mean, especially if you're a tanker healer.
It's why I'm happy to see Preach do his recent series on the basics of World of Warcraft, because World of Warcraft won't teach you the basics. Someone better. I mean, I think and as for your match made point, this is probably going to shock WoW players who don't know anything about FF14. I have done like reasonably difficult endgame stuff that's challenged me a little bit, or at least a decent bit, as a like heroic WoW player, and I have never, outside of literally jumping in with like friends for stuff, I've not done anything that isn't match made.
If only I could be so grossly incandescent.
Like Savage and stuff, all the harder stuff is party finder, so you have to party up yourself. But most of the game is match made, and players are fine.
Cyanide Perfume, thank you very much for becoming grossly incandescent. Tip of the hat. Appreciate support. And I hope you enjoy 14, dude.
A world of LFR, and how many times a normal raid in WoW that I've pugged has gone wrong. That's wild to me. I think
it seems bonkers to me hearing you say this.
I think the caliber of player in Final Fantasy 14, I think Final Fantasy 14 raises its players to be at a point where they can go into raids with no problem, even though mechanics are like, they do require quick reactions. They do require you to have DPS checks. It does require tanks and healers to be like on the ball all the time. And I think purely because it gives you difficult single player battles and duties, it makes you do dungeons party finder wise and doesn't make them too easy for you. Like it is the game does go, here's the hurdle, jump it. Yeah. And if you don't jump it, you get the kind of social ostracization feeling of being the one who's always dying in a raid. Or it says, would you like to try easy mode, or would you like to try very easy for the single player stuff? So you feel it, you just feel that obligation to play correctly, because it's like it doesn't tell you otherwise.
Yeah, so I guess for me it's like, I wouldn't say.
And I think an important thing that 14 also does really well, that I think a lot of people don't really notice this, because it's just such an intuitive thing that happens that you don't even think about it. But the way that they introduce mechanics like stack marker, the beam thing that also requires you to stack, or dodging certain mechanics in a fight, the way that they introduce those and the way that they punish you for failing those is really good. Because the first couple of times that they'll allow you to mess up a certain thing, but they tell you mess up. See, that's the difference. They'll let you mess it up, but you'll know, because they're like, here's a vuln stack. And you're going to like, what's this debuff? I have a debuff. Oh, I'm taking more damage. And you're like, why am I taking more damage? And then as you mess up more and more, you start realizing, okay, so every time I mess up this mechanic, the game's like slapping me on the wrist. It's like, bad. Don't do that. Bad. It's just like kind of giving you little slaps on the wrist to let you know you're messing up. You're messing up. You're messing up. And then when you get to a raid and you see those same mechanics that the game's been kind of like slowly telling you, bad. You're like, okay, that's a stack marker. I got to get on it. That's an AoE telegraph. I got to get out of it. You start learning these things, and it's like it slowly teaches you, you can't do this. You do this, I'm going to slap you. You do this, I'm going to hurt you. And, and eventually those mechanics start hitting harder and harder and harder and harder to the point where eventually you can't be hit at all in certain encounters. And I think that's a great way to do it. It's actually slapping the healers on the wrist. Good! Do you see how they treated me in one of my videos that I made? It's like the entirety of the Final Fantasy XIV Reddit crowd came in there just to take a dump on me. They need to be slapped in the wrist. My issues that I've had with Final Fantasy XIV in the past was the same I get with WoW, sadly. I want to do the raid content, but the player base doing it was so elitist and ridiculous. Need relic weapons to get into Titan Kill, but need Titan Kill to get relic weapon.
Grossly incandescent.
I'm assuming you mean savage raids, because normal raids you can do. I feel like for savage raid, you need to get involved with like a community. You need to try and get a static, because Party Finder, I myself have not had particularly good success with Party Finder. Then again, I haven't used it that much, so it's not that surprising, but I haven't had that much success with Party Finder myself. It's like, to me, the way that they do things in 14, in Savage raiding, is kind of weird. Because I've come from raiding in World of Warcraft, right? Where everybody just joins Discord and we all talk it out and we figure out the strategy while we're going through the boss and whatnot. In Final Fantasy XIV, it's like you join a Party Finder group and they put a marker on the ground and they expect you to know what that means. And I look at that marker and I'm like, what? It's like for every boss, there's like a different thing about that marker. And then they'll put another marker down and you're supposed to know what that one means, and another marker down. And it's like they put markers everywhere, but nobody's saying a damn thing. It's weird. But yeah, Haiku for Spring, thank you very much. Becoming grossly incandescent. Tip of the hat. Appreciate the support. Did I shout you out twice? I don't know. It's like my brain doesn't work properly. You have to communicate well when raiding. You have to let people know if you need, if you're new to raiding, I'm assuming, or new to a fight. If you want to learn, you basically have to play the first 2-3 weeks. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. By then, people expect you to have seen like a video or something like that. And the problem is, I don't think that's fair, because just watching a video is usually not enough to get someone that hasn't raided, Savage in those first 2 to 3 weeks. I'm talking specifically about Savage, because like normal raids, literally anybody can do them. If you've been playing Final Fantasy XIV and you want to jump into a normal raid, it's through matchmaking and it's automatic and it's most of the times fine. Very rarely will you be in a situation where a raid goes to crap. It is very rare that ever happens. So most of the times you go through a raid and it should be fine and normal. In Savage, though, I think it's kind of like it doesn't work out very well for someone to just see a video and then jump in, because you actually have to see the mechanics to see how they properly work. Seeing a video is not enough. So someone who is brand new to a Savage encounter, just watching a video is not going to get them there. Yeah, if you want to prog, you basically need a static. If you join randoms, it is just do this specific tactic and be masterful at it. So yeah, if you don't run the raid in those first 2 to 3 weeks, you're kind of screwed. How many months will it take to get to the good part if I start now? I mean, the good part, Realm Reborn, is not that bad. So the good part is when you start playing, it should already be pretty good. But, if you don't like Realm Reborn that much, then it would be Heaven's Word. So I'd say anywhere from 50 to 80 hours, depending on how efficient you are at clearing it. But it's like, don't think of Final Fantasy as in, I want to go straight into Shadowbringers. You can't think of it like that. You should enjoy the story up to Shadowbringers, because otherwise you get the Shadowbringers and you're like, you haven't paid attention to the story, you've been skipping cutscenes, and you get there and you're just like, I don't get what this is all about. Like, sure, the story is still okay, but you're going to be like, I don't care about these characters, whatever, what the fuck do I care? This one's got a gunblade now? Whatever, right? You have to appreciate the story as you go through it to really get the full effect. So it's like, Cylon, in my opinion, just take your time. Just play through it and take your time. Same goes for EX trials via Party Finder. Yep. Reality is you have to make your own learning group. Yep, pretty much. Yeah, what Zukis is saying, it's a single-player game that has an MMO built into it. Not just when you finish it. Someone told me once, like, Final Fantasy XIV is like a JRPG, except when you go into a dungeon, you take other players with you. Your party is made up of other players.
If only I could be so grossly incandescent.
Avkara, thank you very much for becoming grossly incandescent. Tip of the hat. Appreciate the support. Thank you. Is there a place to check the official strategy? Usually they'll tell you the content creators. So like some people might say, watch the MTQ guide, watch the Ilya guide, they'll say like the name of a content creator, and they'll just expect you to watch the YouTube video of that content creator for that strategy.
Where World of Warcraft should become a fully everything's match-made game, but it's just a better way for the game to teach people mechanics, I think would be great. Even just like, that novice thing that FF has where it's like, it just pulled me into a duty or whatever it's called and said, hey, this is the one in AoE, so you're going to do that? Yep. And it's like, if I was a player who didn't really understand MMO concepts, I would get that. So it seems like it does a better job there. I think WoW, it doesn't do the best job. I think there's a lot of things which, they make sense within the logic of WoW. So it's just all a whole bunch of World of Warcraft people talking to each other, thinking about the same things, developing WoW in its own way. Then if you come in from another game, you'll be like, whoa, this is not intuitive, I'm confused. I think Blizzard would stand to gain fantastically. So who knows? I mean, maybe a more robust Proving Grounds, that has like some different modes, things like that would be a way to go. I'm not 100% sure, but I'd love to see Blizzard do more there, and I think they know that it would be that their lives as developers would be easier if the player base was a bit better trained. Yeah, I mean, obviously, a lot of the WoW player base who you talk to online is super well trained. I think it's more just those people who are not like WoW super fans who really dive deep into it. It's like you either read how to do WoW well on external sources, or you don't, and if you don't, you're probably going to have issues in most of its endgame instant content.
Absolutely.
So we got that.
Pretty much.